Yep, let's go through.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to minimize the chat or get out of the way so I'm not disturbed with what I'm putting on the screen. Let me do that. Okay. Good start. We'll look at the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we don't really want the dragon there. And this is, for some reason, moving really slowly. So let me just get a new scene. Whoops, new scene open. Who's familiar with Mixamo, the website? Probably a lot of you. What I want is a random animation from Mixamo. I'll bring that up on the screen in a moment, and we'll just pick through and find one. I've got two screens, so I can't show you all screens at once. Give me a sec to get that over. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. I know I should have closed down some of my websites I've got open. Okay, logging in. For those who don't know, Mixamo is a good resource for animations and certain avatars. Run by Adobe, so you can trust it.
While you're loading, I had a quick question. Does Mixamo, do they add to their animations? I know they were bought by Adobe, but are they continuing to add animations, or are they the same ones that have been there for like forever?
It's hard to know because there's no way of getting a definitive list of everything they've got. You can only really search in categories or by keywords, so you can't bring up a whole list of everything. But I don't think they're actively adding to it at the moment.
So a few years ago, they had an all-access membership, and you had all these you had for $200 a month or something like that, you had access to everything. And then they said, we're being sold to Adobe, get what you can. So we downloaded as much as possible, the whole dragon set and all kinds of dogs and everything. And then when it sat on Adobe's website with minimal stuff. But, we're glad to have what's there, but they had so much more. And I have some of it, and others, have other, Joey had a membership back then too, but now they just have this minimal set, and I've always wanted to ask about this hip bone problem when we bring it into the editor pack.
Yeah.
Do we just use 2015 female and that goes away?
Generally, I use 2015. You should be able to use 2017, but not the 19 avatar. Not yet, I don't think.
Okay. So yeah, because I always get this hit message and it's errors, and it's like, what is? So yeah, I think it was 15. So thanks for clarifying.
Okay, but I'll take you through the sort of process, and we might come across what you're talking about, or at least the area that you're talking about. So what we need to do is we're going to find a random animation. Anybody got any suggestions? It can be a pose or an animation, so just a static pose or something moving. Any concept you'd like to see in the shop.
How about a professional walk, like Cindy was talking about? A professional female walk.
All right. That really means we're just going to have to bring up all walks and look at them. So hopefully you guys can see the animation coming through. It's going to be a case of just picking one of these.
I have a need for a kneel on a trigger.
Kneeling on a trigger?
Yes. Like when you touch it, kneel, and when you touch it again, you stand up. But that's because that's part of like Josh's interaction that he did in that office hours. But yeah, that was one I needed. Was kneel on touch.
We can go with that one. site, not dismissing your request for a walk, but there's actually probably about 20 odd walks there, and we would run out of time just trying to pick one that we will like. So if we just go with this Neil for now, the same principle can be adapted for anything that you want. Is that okay?
Totally. Cindy's the one who's got the real project going.
Okay, so we're going to download, and just a couple of changes, one change in here, get the FBX for Unity version, and we don't want the avatar, so we just want it without skin. So we download that. And let's put it somewhere. I really should have a tutorial folder, and I haven't, so we'll save it there. That's all done. So that's all we need to do on the Mixamo site. Back into Unity, I've got a generic prefabs folder here where I'm throwing things in. The dragon that you saw earlier is in there. So I'm just going to bring up my download or document folder where I put that. Should be under tutorials. No, it's not. Where's it gone? Where did I save it? So put it under there. Yeah, put it in downloads, not documents. Okay, there's our animation. We just drag it in to our project. And wait an eternity for my Unity to catch up. There we go, it's now importing the file.
Is it just me that lost screen?
No, I've lost it as well.
I disconnected from the in-world system. I'm just on voice chat. Give me a second. Hopefully I'll come back.
One session I'm trying to watch what's going on and all I'm getting is a black screen, and I finally figured out that my camera went through the break room screen to the screen behind it. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know my eyeballs went through the screen.
That's it. We've got
Okay,
you back.
hopefully you got me back now. Good.
Yep.
Okay. I'll just drag import information there. Next, well, actually, we don't even need to bring an avatar up, so I don't even think this is relevant to the type of avatar that you have, Cindy, because all we need to do now is create the virtual good element and then drag this animation in. So I'm going to do that. We'll call it pose. We're going to want to add. Now, how you attach an animation or a pose is from an avatar effect script or a component. So we type in avatar and we should find avatar effect or something similar. That was the top one. Easy one, I missed that. There we go. Participants 1, we don't want it to be gendered. If we did, the nominal gender would be male. We don't want to use a radius because we'll not trigger it to work with somebody else. And it's one pose, which is an animation, but it's a 1 frame or 2 frame animation, and we loop that there. Next is the clothing item. Clothing item settings. No, sorry, my apologies. We don't need that. We just need the virtual good script. When it comes back, there we go. Virtual good. So we don't want the upload tab. We'll start at the basic tab. Just quickly fill this in. So the type is hello, shush dog. We'll put it in the gesture at the moment and pick. What one is it? Customization, gesture. We'll just put it as a single person gesture there. We'll call it, again, kneeling pose. I usually copy into the description, and we get through the rest quickly we can allow, for my purposes, I'm going to change it to full access so we can alter things in World if we need to. Pricing, not for sale, author, that's already filled in, so we can leave that. Only other thing to do is we've got to now deal with the animation being brought in. So the first thing is the wig will need to be changed to humanoid there. Once we've done that and Unity has imported it, we can open and see the pose, hopefully. There we go. So it's now converted it into a usable pose in Unity. We've now got to drag that into a component on the kneeling pose, and there is something else we need because in here there's no provision to actually add the animation. So we need another avatar component, and it's the animate single avatar. There we go. The animation on the base layer is the one we want if you're not specifying, so we just leave it as default. The clip is dragged in from there. Participant, there's only one participant, so we leave it as the initiator. Start time, don't need that. And should stop is no. Now, I'm not saying this is going to work, but we're going to try it. It's roughly how you do it, but there may be some sort of tweaks needed. So we're going to send it up and hopefully get that through fairly quickly because it's a pretty small prop. There's nothing in there apart from text files. So there should be no delays or anything. So kneeling pose, we'll drag it here, make it a prefab, and we should be ready to send up.
Are you uploading it to the preview environment or to the main environment?
It'll go to preview first, and then once I've decided it's working successful, everything's working fine, then we can push it to live.
But that'll take like a day or something, right?
That's
No.
10 minutes.
Oh, for you it takes 10 minutes. Got it. Can you screen share showing it in the preview environment, or is that too hard on your?
No, I can do that. As soon as I've saved the scene, we'll call it Neil.
Because I'm thinking if I were doing this, I wouldn't try to upload it to the main grid. I would be troubleshooting everything in preview until I was.
We can't send directly to the live grid. The whole sort of pipeline process is that initially the upload always goes to the preview server where you can inspect it, tweak it, test it, and then when you're ready for it to be used on the live grid, you would push send to review, and our review team in Shanghai would then pass it and push it to the live server. It's not something you can actually do yourself to push it live. It still has to go through the Shanghai department. Right, so go back to our website and we'll pull up the curator. And see what we've got. Kneeling pose, processing. Okay, so it's twiddle thumb time. Or ask any questions you like about what we've done so far.
I found it interesting that you said we don't need to show you an avatar at the beginning. It was like you invisibly created this pose. But
Yes.
finally, when you pushed it into Unity, then I finally saw an avatar that was doing the pose. So I wasn't sure what that was about. Why?
Okay, Cindy was asking about using the 2015 or different avatars that we have built into the editor pack, which clothing designers, for example, use that to test their clothes fit. An animation designer would throw an animation on one of those default avatars in the editor pack to test it's working. When you get them from Mixamo, they are already pretty much guaranteed to work. So there was no need to go through the extra process of showing it being put into an avatar in Unity, because again, that would have taken time up and we wouldn't have got through the whole process. Where I'm really trying to steer you is to see that you don't actually have to get involved with anything about moving an actual avatar or how it interacts in sign space, etc. In fact, you can build an animation without using an avatar in any way at all inside Unity. You just need the animation file dropped into the right place. And the fact that we converted it to a humanoid means the guarantee it's going to work with a sign space avatar. Did that cover your question?
Yes, indeed.
Hello?
Thank you.
Okay. I thought I'd lost everybody for a moment.
No, I would actually said thank you in chat, but
Oh, I've got it minimized, yeah. Okay, that's cool. Right. Still not through.
I guess I will revisit the question then, which is in really developing this, that's what preview is for, right? I would be cycling between Unity, upload to preview, cursing, growling, as Hinckley or Mark would say, and then coming back and filling with it some more. And only then would I then, push the Shanghai button.
Yeah, that's exactly what we have to do. Yep. I mean, obviously staff can override it as well, so staff can actually push things live, but it technically should go through the Shanghai department, otherwise it doesn't get the review team stamp and could be flagged later on.
As I understand it, though, the reviewed stamp is mostly applicable if it goes into the shop, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the reason. I mean, technically, you could have anything made as long as you can build anything, as long as you only use it privately. But the fact that it goes through the review team means they've seen it, and if they're observant enough to see copyright issues, they may refuse it, even if it's only for personal use. But that can then be appealed against, I suppose, to Adam or Rowan or anybody on the sort of senior staff. Which has happened because, as you may recall, there was some confusion over Snowtrack's use of the NASA logo on a rocket some time ago, and that got quite confusing.
What you're reminding me of is in Wikipedia. God, when I first learned to use Wikipedia and write articles, the fair use claim in the U.S. There's a thing called fair use, which you can use a tiny small piece of even copyrighted material.
Yeah, I think seconds, isn't it? From you can actually take 20 seconds of music without risk of copyright.
Yeah, and that's for music, but there's also images and things like that. But it is certainly a pain to go through.
Oh yeah, especially if you're a big company that uses an awful lot of pictures and things, and you have to get each one checked and stuff. But it is a big problem for all virtual worlds, whether you control copyright. I mean, Second Life doesn't care, and I don't honestly see why there hasn't been any legal action against it.
I beg to differ. They do care. The Millennium Copyright Act, and there's tons of claims processed through Linden Lab all the time. The reason big companies don't care, I feel, it goes back to our earlier discussion offline about the amount of money that actually flows through related to things like that, which is very, including music, is very, 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 very small compared to real life dollars flow.
Yeah, true. But that's another topic that could take up a 3-hour session. Zoo, what have you done to the curator? It's not processing quick.
You have to have the special touch.
Right. Obviously, it's an off day for me then.
No, it's only been 5 minutes. So.
Yeah.
But it always seems like longer when you're waiting for it, like watching water boil.
Right. Or when you're trying to think of something to say to fill in a gap in the presentation that you're doing. Oops.
Let me ask you while, speaking of, okay, so you said to do an AO demo would be a little trickier, which I get, but wouldn't you still start, it sounds like you would start with, like, that nice, I think it's Sophia, is that the name of the avatar that you have on the shop that I like, that has that cute animation?
Yeah.
You used Mixamo, I think, for that, and then you used XYZ, blah, 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 other things, you told me once. So what else are you going to go through to have an AO that you could attach to your avatar?
Well, where we just used one animation clip, you'd firstly need a set of animation clips or poses that were the new overridden animations that you wanted, so a different walk cycle, a different run cycle, and things like that. AJ needs to go, by the way. Take care. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Get back on track. So you've got a collection of animation clips. Once you've got those, then you're likely to need to build it into an animation controller, which will contain all of those animation clips and link them to be referenced to the new avatar. You do that by adding a component and then dragging in the animation controller file. Once you've done that, then there's got to be a method for you to actually get those animations actually doing something. And that's where various ways can come in. You could do it through scripting, you could do it through an event system, or you can do it through the component system. The component system, because it's the one specifically designed for use from the editor pack, is the easier one to use, because the components actually replace a lot of hard scripting that you'd have to do otherwise. So you would literally, in the clothing item settings, go to the animation controller section, and you drag in each of those animation clips, and you give them, or you pull a drop-down list down that allows you to assign standard sign space animation events to your new animations. Obviously, you have to prepare the animations properly, make the ones that should loop, and the ones that should just be one single cycle, like a jump, to just do it once. Once you set those up, you can then upload an entire avatar with a custom set of animations in the one clothing item virtual good. So the new avatar would go into the costume override slots, and the animation controller, the animation clips, go into the animation controller slots. Once you've done that, there's a bit more to it, but essentially that then will replace the standard idle, and that's the one you're talking about with the avatar that you've got of mine site. The idle is more of a reserved shy idle, which came from Mixamo. That's replaced the standard idle. We can do that with the walk, the run, the backwards and walk and run, the flying animations, both going up and down and flying straight and hovering, and run animations and the crouch animations. So there's quite some scope there to customize, but not absolutely everything. For example, the slight problem with the controllers can be that when you hold down the forward key and the left key, or W and A at the same time, there isn't a midway blend between the two, the ones built in and the ones coming from your new animation controller. But other than that, that's how you do it.
So you're saying that an AO is more than one. It's a set of animations plus some kind of control mechanism that says if you're idle, do the idle. If you're walking, do the walking. And if you want to customize each of those would be customized. What I've always thought I wanted to be able to do was to take one of my avatars in the outfits she's dressed in and then put on the AO. But it seemed like, no, the AO is hardwired to the avatar. However, today you showed us a place where the minute you walked into the water, your avatar could swim instead of walk, fly, and without changing the avatar. So
Also, that same principle of switching between standing and going into swim mode can also be achieved with dance gestures as well, where you can make a rectangle or a collider of some sort that when you walk into it, your idle animation gets replaced with the designated dance animation. So for a club, if I have anybody standing there, the moment they're in the zone, they are going to default to dancing anyway, not standing idle or looking silly. Same thing with the swim.
is it possible to have an AO that I can take off and put on for the different outfits?
No, well, all AOs at the moment would have to be a clothing item that would come from your inventory and be part of your outfit. I don't think we've got any facility to link.
Well, that would be okay. I mean, I could just put on a piece of clothing that's actually an AO, or take it off.
Oh yeah, you could attach it to something like a bracelet, a necklace, any accessory you want, a hat or something like that. Swear, what I've done similar with they've got radio attachments that can actually walk around with your avatar. They're attachments rather than being embedded in a region. Therefore, your music goes with you whatever region you go in, and it's worn as an attachment, a necklace or something like that. So a similar thing could be what you'd use for your AO. The other part I'll add before we go back and look at the curator is that on top of those standard animations, you can also introduce, for example, instead of C being crouch, you could make it be your dragon that breathes fire, as Zoo has done with his dragon. So you can, even though you're replacing the crouch animation, it doesn't have to be another crouch animation. It can be any animation you want. Animals could be made to sit down on their hind legs if you press C instead of actually crouching type thing. So it's quite flexible, and going beyond that, if you're good with scripting and you can trap certain keys, you've lost me in world again, I think.
Yeah.
Let's get that back. You could eventually get a system where some of your overridden animations are in the animation controller, but the more specialized ones that don't fit the standard model, you can put them on key presses and include them in the animation controller, and they would be accessible as well to give you more functionality than ScienceBase can give you. So it kind of can really be extended, but nobody yet has really exploited the possibilities of animation overrides to the extent that we can cope with. Unity and Lua can do it. We haven't yet got too much technical background information.
But the point is, until I knew you could be done, it was like hopeless to me. You're saying, yeah, there is a path to it.
Oh, yeah.
And see, I'm just, because of my familiarity with Second Life and all that, I'm just familiar with putting AOs off and on. If I'm in my dragon avatar, I put on the dragon AO. If I'm in my tiger avatar, I put on the tiger AO. If I'm in the professional businesswoman avatar, I put on that. And, it's like changing clothes, literally. Not a gesture. It's wherever I go. Wherever you go, there you are, your animation. So you're saying, yeah, you can do that. Cool.
Yeah, with our system, we're doing the same thing that you're talking about, except it's built into the avatar. So when you change to the Q avatar, that's bringing in its own animation override, but it's invisible to you because it's already replaced the animations you didn't want. So it's almost automatic if you use it as an animation controller in the clothing settings. Hopefully this has gone through. Like I said, I'm not 100% sure it's going to work, but let's try. The reason I don't think it's going to work is because I think my outfit on preview is stuck, and I don't know if I can demo it. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Let's get the screen back on. Right. if I become a dragon, it's not going to happen. Yep. No, it's loaded that. Right, I don't think it's going to go any further than that, though.
Now, we're in preview here, right?
In preview. That's why this dragon doesn't function. It hasn't been pushed live yet because it's not working. Oh, I've got further than I did before, so I can at least get into outfit now and change back. No, I can't. Avatar loading. Please wait a moment to complete loading your avatar outfit. So I'm stuck now until this bit goes. Show you.
Looking at the screen, how would I know we're in preview? Where's the little magic menu list thingy?
There isn't one. If you look, I think Explore might show different things. No. How you instantly tell is you've got different profiles. This profile is not set up as my main because I have company descriptions and what I do in Science in my description. But here, look, this is the server version of me. So when I first went in on preview, I changed my preview profile to reflect that.
I've only been in preview a couple times when Galen was helping me with stuff.
Yeah, I mean the only surefire way of knowing is when you log in, tick the login preview box. Obviously you're in preview, untick it and you're not, but you don't always remember, do you? That's the thing.
Also, I wanted to add, look at the amount of money that you have.
That's not real.
Money.
That's a good point.
If you go on to preview, you'll see similar amounts on your own. It's totally a dummy figure because it's preview, it's not real.
It's test money, yeah, and the store won't have, you can't buy anything from the store, just a few things that are test items, and you'll have a lot more regions online. I have like 35, 40 regions on preview and only 5 on public.
Oh, I've got a similar number, so... No, look, I am stuck in this avatar, I'm afraid, so unfortunately that's kind of scuppered us right at the last moment. So, we can come back to the pose next week, but we're over time now, so we'll have to review once I've got this lovely dragon. Not quite what we intended from the pose, though, is it?
Well, maybe that's kneeling, for all we know.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, so I don't know how to fix that. I used to go into an old viewer and that would sort of break the situation and allow me into outfit, but I think I'm going to have to fix the dragon in Unity first, upload it, get this working, and then I'm going to be able to get out of this outfit. But remember, this is preview, so these kind of things are not impacted on anything you do on the live grid.
You could probably delete it off the curator.
Yeah, and I'll have to resend it up on another ID, I think. Yeah. Obviously, we're not going to get the next few minutes.
Anyway, could you just recap briefly the steps you took without the screen, obviously? Or maybe you can. What did you show us today in the animation part of the tutorial from MioMax to blah blah?
Hold on a moment. I'm just trying to get my project back. So let's go back to our scene. Again, Unity is very slow for me. Incredibly slow. Alright, so I'll recap. It's an avatar effect and an avatar single gesture component that you need to add to the virtual good. Once you've done that, you can then drag in the animation clip that you've imported into the slot on the single avatar animation. Then you just add a virtual good and send it up. Under normal situations, you'll have a clothing item component or a furniture item component, except with gestures, you don't need that. You have the avatar effect script instead. And I think that's just got, I'm just able to...
So the fastest way to activate them is to put them in, what's that, favorites bar?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So like if you want to have waving and hand clapping and stuff like that, you add them to the taskbar.
Yeah, I mean, in a sense, the hotbar is like an AO. because you'd have exactly the same thing if you right-clicked on your avatar and it popped up a menu to change the animation. The hotbar does serve as that, although it's a little bit primitive. So it could be improved upon for functionality, but it's kind of its own override depending on what you drag in there. Let's just get this.
Like I used to use it to swap the helmets until I had the helmet scripted. So you had your mask on, mask off. And your goggles on, goggles. Yeah, so I had the two in the hotbar, and that's how I used to switch them. And now it's in a UI. Yay!
Okay, so we're now looking at Unity. I can show you the components that we've got. Wow, mind you, I have got 2 sign spaces and 3 Unities open, so that's probably explaining it. There we go. Right. So the scripts and bits that we added was the avatar effect script, 1 participant, loop, so you don't need to do a lot to that, and also the avatar animation effect script there. So I think that comes up in the list as avatar single person. Let's just check that. Avatar effect, yeah, it's animate single avatar in the list, even though it comes up with avatar animation effect. Leave it on base layer, drag the animation clip into this slot, pretty much leave everything else as default. Should it loop or should it stop? You can check that depending on what the animation is. If it's a jump, leave it unchecked so it only does it once. If it's a dance and you want it to loop, or if it's just a single static pose, that still needs to loop. So you'd leave that unchecked for that situation, which is what we did. The remainder is filling out the virtual goods script and sending it up. So that's essentially how you do it, which is why we don't need any avatar in here. There's no real need in any of these settings to have to refer to anything to do with the model, because everything you need is contained in the animation clip or is handled by the avatar effect and the avatar animation script. There you go. A shame I couldn't show it to you, but we will get that done for next week.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. And we're way over time. Okay, folks, so thanks for coming along. If I get any further with it, I'll post something in Discord as a reference, and then you can take a look if I can get it into the shop, so you can see it before next weekend. Next weekend, before next week. On that note, from Dixie Zoo and myself, we will see you next time. Thanks.